Hi and good evening everybody, and welcome to our nursing live stream. We are delighted that you could join us this evening, where we are going to be shining a spotlight on nursing here at DMU, and more specifically we are going to be talking about two really important fields of practice that we offer here at Montfort University, which is learning disability nursing and mental health nursing. So we're really glad that you can join us, and we really hope to be able to answer your questions this evening. So whether you are an applicant and have questions about the kind of course and wanting to know more about what to expect if you were to come and study with us, or perhaps you've not applied yet and you're still just trying to decide what kind of field of practice or what kind of nursing role you want, then hopefully this live stream is for you, and we're going to give you lots of information. We've got a great lineup of people for you to chat to this evening. We've got current students from both programs across different years, so first year students, second and third year, and final year students. And we're also going to be joined by a graduate, so you can find out a little bit more about what happens when you graduate and the kind of careers and progression opportunities that you have afterwards. So without further delay, I'm going to pass over to our host this evening, because this is an entirely student-led event. So we're really fortunate that our students have given up their time this evening in between going on placements and studying to come and host tonight's live stream. So I'm going to hand over to Emma and Flora. So guys, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. So I'm Emma.
I'm Flora.
So like Vanessa said, let us know in the comments at what stage you are in your application, whether you're thinking about nursing, if you've applied, if you are getting an interview, or if you have a place. We'd love to know what stage of your journey you're on. So as I said, my name is Emma and I'm a second year learning disability student nurse. So before applying for DMU and for LD nursing, I worked in a special needs school for about 10 years. So I've had a bit of a gap in education. Way before working, I did my GCSEs and I actually did a BTEC in childcare. So I wasn't really into nursing at that point. I was more into teaching. 2020 came and as I said, I was working in a special needs school and COVID hit. And I wasn't able to work. So I decided I needed to have a change. So I had been dipping in and out of nursing, thinking about it. I come from a family of nurses, and I also have a sister who has a learning disability. So I kind of knew that was my path. I've been in that world quite a bit. So why I applied for DMU really is because it's quite local to me. I'd seen other unis around that had been offering LD nursing, but I knew DMU did it. It's near enough, like 10 minutes from my house, which is quite nice. It's local. It's all together on one campus. Because of COVID, I didn't actually attend open days. I attended the virtual open days, and hearing from current students and hearing one of the lecturers talk and showing their passion really shone through. So Flora, how did you decide to study for nursing?
Hello. So yeah, similar to you, I actually worked in a low secure mental health hospital before I came to uni. I did my A-levels and I didn't know what I wanted to do with them. So I just went and got a job. I worked in care for about 1 year. I did elderly care and I loved it, but I just wanted something different. So then someone I knew actually worked in the hospital and I got a job there, and I worked there for about 2 years. And while I was there, I was like, I actually really enjoy mental health. I've already got my A-levels. I might as well progress. Applied to the course at DMU because, similar to you, it's local, a bit further, about an hour from home, but it's local enough to be far, but also close. So I moved here as well. I had a friend who came here before, so I came with her to an open day and loved Leicester and loved the course. I met all the lecturers, we came to the open day. And yeah, I applied to the course. And then left my job and came to uni, just doing the mental health nursing. Similar to you, I have a family connection with mental health. My mum actually suffers anorexia and has my whole life. So I've been around people with mental health who suffer with ill mental health my whole life. And it was a world I was quite comfortable with. And I fell into it really easily, and I just wanted to help, and I love it. I really enjoy it. So Emma, what have been your highlights on the LD course so far?
Oh, that is a hard one. So at the moment, I've been doing a couple of community placements where I really enjoy, because I guess some people hear nursing and it's like you're being on the ward, you know, doing 12-hour shifts or earlys, lates, nights, and you know, I know definitely in the LD profession, it's not just being on the ward. I mean, I'm in the community placement where I'm doing 9 to 5, having weekends off. There's quite a few of my peers actually. I've been on other placements, so a few are on a inpatient ward, which is local. A few have been at day services, special needs schools, respite. So quite literally, we're all spread around everywhere. I think what was one of the highlights as well was when we started, we were all online, so we hadn't actually met each other. So I took a bit of a leap and made a WhatsApp group for our LD cohort and just like sent it out to the whole nursing cohort that we had and said, oh, look, we've got an LD one and there's 14 of us in this little WhatsApp group. And so we kind of got to know each other that way, talking about the course, talking about the lectures we were going to attend. And when we did one of the practicals, we saw each other then. So it was quite nice that we'd started to build up that community and that friendship group and to say hello. I know one experience from DMU I have is the support from the staff as well, because I'm dyslexic, so I struggle with my spelling. And when I said to DMU, oh, I'm dyslexic, I'm not sure if I can actually be a nurse, they were really quite supportive. They pointed me in the right direction. So I have a study skills session, usually once a week or every couple of weeks, just to support me in assignment writing. But also having the lecturers there at the end of an email, especially the module leaders, personal tutor, which is quite nice. And you build up that nice relationship, don't you, with your personal tutor? It's not usually about uni stuff. It's usually about, you know, you can talk about your own personal life, what's happening, which I quite like, or, you know, it's quite nice having that, you know, you have a lecturer, but, you know, that lecturer can be your personal tutor as well, and just having someone to chat to. There's been a few highlights in the last 2 years that we've done as a LD group. One of them was creating an easy read poster for those with learning disabilities. Where it had a picture and some text, and it was around the COVID vaccine and being on the learning disability register. And one of my colleagues on my course actually gave us the idea, and she was selected for the Student Nursing Time Awards and won it. So she brought that trophy in and cake. So that was really nice. And also we had DMU Global, and we had a virtual event with some of the LD nurses in America, which was quite nice to actually hear how they do things over there, because obviously quite different, well, same field of practice, but different strategies, but seeing how they were using a holistic approach, because that's what nursing is about, especially learning disability and mental health, I guess, is being holistic, having the person at the centre. So Flora, I know you're in your third and final year now. So what have you, when looking back over the last 3 years, what have your highlights been?
So obviously it was not the 3 years that we expected or planned. You know, we all know COVID, but there was still like so many highlights. And I think similar to you, I've got to say some of the people I've met on my course have really been a massive highlight, because they've really made it. And also I 100% would not have got through this course without them. So luckily, like, we had one term in uni in 2019, at the end of 2019, September to Christmas, in person, and obviously no one knows each other, and it's like really hard, but I managed to get into a really nice group of 6. There's 5 mental health and 1 child nurse actually, and we just all sat together, and then through the pandemic, like similar to you, we have a WhatsApp group, and we just bonded on that, because we would talk every day and like share our experiences. So like prior to coming back to uni this year, we'd not actually spent hardly any physical time together, but like we're so close. And honestly, like, I know you'll agree, Emma, just the support when it comes to assignments, like you're all going through the same thing, and you just like messaging, and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And everyone's like, me too. And then you all do it anyway. And you all pass anyway. But you cry together, you laugh together.
Definitely.
Honestly, I could not have got through the course without them. But another big highlight for me is placement. I just love placement. I just love, it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. And I just have you have little things where you feel like you know nothing. And then you do something and you're like, I know what I'm doing. I can do this job. And you can really see yourself when you graduate, like some other profession that says something good to you or like highlights something that you've done, and it's just such a boost, and you just walk around smiling for the rest of your day, and you're just like, yes, I'm so happy, and it's like all the stress is worth it. So that's what I love my friends, and I love the placements. I do not love the assignments, but I do them.
We're not bigging up assignments here, are we? No, definitely. I definitely love placement. So you can tell that we obviously love the course and are having a good time, obviously highs and lows.
Definitely.
And, I know Flora, who's a third year, is obviously nearing the end of her course soon. So she's nearing the end to her career. And, I'm halfway through, so I can see the light, I can see the qualifying, I can see graduation. But to get to this point, obviously, we did a lot of research to make sure about the role, what we're hoping to become in the future. So what we've done, myself and Flora, is we found some videos for you to watch, which we're going to play, which will help explain about the different roles and what they entail. Oh, technology, eh?
No, so sorry, guys. There was no sound on that video.
But the link is there, and I'm sure we can actually post the link in the comments if you want to see it and have sound. So it is a really good video for explaining about LD nursing.
Yeah, so there's a lot of information that you can find on the internet about the different roles in nursing. So if you're unsure, maybe still deciding what nursing role you want, what field of practice, do lots of research before you apply. There's so much out there. Students' experiences, qualified nurses' experiences that you can read. You can, of course, come to the open days, which are a great way to talk to all the academics from all 4 fields of practice, so adult, child, LD, and mental health, and chat to current students to find out more. Let's see if we have any questions we can answer before we move on to the next section, shall we?
Oh, I've been offered a conditional offer for mental health nursing. I was wondering what your timetables look like in terms of managing placement hours, lectures, and independent study.
That's a great question, and that's the question everyone always wants to answer, me included, before I joined. So basically, it is a full-time course, so you do need to remember that when applying and signing up, that you are signing up to a full-time course, and it will be full-time. However, every placement I've had, for example, has been very flexible with my hours if I've had certain things that I've needed to do. And I know my friend, she has a little boy, he's 2, and they've been so understanding and flexible in terms of fitting her hours around, you know, his childcare and stuff. That being said, some community placements can't do that because their hours are literally 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and to get your hours, you need to be there at that time. In terms of lectures, when you're in a block of theory, it can be quite full on. I'm sure Emma will agree, because we do the same lectures pretty much, LD and mental health, don't we? Where sometimes you can be in literally 9 to 5, but saying that, some days you're not in at all. But I know for me, this first term just gone was very full on, and then it tends to slow down after the first few weeks. But independent study, there's definitely time to do your independent study, but again, it is about time management, and being able to manage your time is also a skill when you're a nurse, so it's definitely great training for that. But yeah, I would just reiterate that you are signing up to a full-time course, and when they say that, they mean it. Like, they mean it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with the placement thing. I'm with the community placement, so mine is 9 till 5 at the moment, but they're actually quite flexible. So I have some days where I work at home because I can access stuff from home. I've had annual leave within that, so you know they are accommodating, and I think if you're just open and honest, you know, it's a two-way street, isn't it? You've got to be open and honest. You know, you've got to meet them in the middle, and they've got to meet you in the middle.
I've always found that when you are there, if you're really proactive and do loads of stuff, they're more likely to be more flexible. And I've never had a problem with flexibility myself. So and I have a job as well. So
and like you said about the theory block, so you always have like a theory block. I know I'm sure the first years will agree when we see them in a minute that the theory block is you have like 6-7 weeks for the theory block, and then you move on to placements. You won't attend lectures while on placement.
No.
Talking about our first years, sorry, they do have names. So we're going to be joined by our 2 first years, so Hannah and Jessica. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. Are you okay?
Yes, thanks. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for joining us.
That's all right.
So you're about 6 months into your course, and you're both doing learning disability nursing. How has it been so far? Who wants to go first?
It's been hard. It's been adjusting was quite, because me and Hannah were both in full-time work before. So for me personally, it was going from working full-time to then, I personally don't work whilst doing uni. A lot of our peers do, but it was that transition. But I thought the transition was smooth. Communication from DMU meant we had everything in place. But yeah, it's been really good so far. What about you, Hannah?
I think the same. It's a little bit stressful, but as soon as you're in with it and you've sorted your time management out, and you know when you've got your dates for everything needs to be due in, when your exams are, I think as soon as you've figured out what needs doing when, like, it's really, really good, and everyone's really supportive. Everyone in the cohort, all the lecturers, they're really amazing.
Oh, that's definitely good to hear.
That is nice. So you're both about to go on your first placement, or you're on it? You're about to go on your first placement.
Yeah.
Right. How are you feeling about that?
I'm really excited.
Good.
I'm going to a special needs school that's from 4 years old to 19 years old, and they're all mixed abilities in one class. And I called them on Monday actually to find out where I'm going to be, and I'm going to be classroom based. And they do horse riding, and they've got a forestry school as well. So I'm really excited to get involved in that. The school nurse is actually on 2 courses whilst I'm on the placement, so I get to go on those training courses with her. So that's going to be really good.
That's amazing.
That's a great opportunity.
That sounds like a great first placement, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm going to a day centre for adults with learning disabilities that may have been excluded from mainstream services due to behaviours of concern. I am so excited. Obviously, the nerves creep in as well, and it's daunting. But again, we've had a lot of preparation. We've had a lot of supportive lectures to say how we do it, what we need to meet on placement, and to help prep like advice. So one of our lecturers said about doing practice runs. So I've already driven myself to placement.
I agree. That is a good tip.
But it was, I'm super excited. And I think hearing they do something called a social club as well for different courses. And we attended that. Me and Hannah both went.
Yeah.
And just hearing some of the placements that we could end up on as well. So as well as being excited for this placement, I think it's really exciting to know what else is to come as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I mean, I've had 2 placements. In my first placement, I was a bag of nerves. Because it was a bit out of my comfort zone. I've worked with children with learning disabilities, so it weren't like it was major out of my comfort zone, but it was doing something different. So I did fill out my comfort zone, and I think I was a bit of a nervous wreck when I rang my placement. I was like, hello. But it gets easier. It does get easier. You still have those nerves, which I think is actually quite normal. I know the teams that I've been with have been really welcoming and accommodating and been really supportive. And like Hannah said, that, you know, giving me opportunities to like attend different meetings with different professionals. So, yeah, I've really, you know, that was my first placement experience. What about you, Flora?
Yeah, my favourite part of the course, as I said earlier, is placement. And I've had 5 now. Yes, I'm on my 5th. And I love it. I just started 3 weeks ago and it's amazing. But I remember my first ever placement, it was in a care home, and I was, even though I'd worked in care for 3 years before, I was so scared because even if you've had a job in healthcare, it's such a different role that you're taking on. And I just felt like I knew nothing and I was so scared. But yeah, ask questions and just ask to follow everyone everywhere. Like, I've done so much stuff, just like someone's walking past and they're like, oh, I'm going to this, and I'm like, oh, can I come with you? And they're like, oh yeah, of course. So like that's how you see lots of different things. Like, it's so hard to start with because it's scary, but you've got to speak to people and you've got to speak up. And then also I found if you do that in the first few weeks, they realize you want to do stuff, so then they'll approach you a bit more. I think that would be my top tip, is just try and get everything you can out of placement, because it's really helped me where I am now in my 3rd year. I've come on this placement and I felt really confident. Like, I've just sat down, I've got on with stuff, and I've walked in and just started doing things. And I think back to 1st year, even 2nd year, and I don't think I was ever at a place to do that then. And it's just had a moment last week and I was like, oh, I've really come far. So happy. But yeah, my top tip is literally just ask to follow everyone everywhere, ask to go everywhere. Anything you hear that you sounds interesting that's going on, ask. The answer might be no, like they might not be able to take you in there, but it's worth an ask, and you will get out of placement what you put in. That's literally my top tip for placement.
Definitely. Also, take a little notebook and a pen, because
you
will find, I mean, the amount of medication that I've heard, or different strategies or different pathways, just write them down. And when you've got a spare minute, just Google it, see what it's about, see if you can get onto like where your placements server to see what their policies are. I bet quite a lot of people are going to ask a question about, do you get to choose your placement? So no, you don't get to choose. However, you get to fill in a form to give the placement team ideas. Look, can students choose to go where to go on placement? I'm a mind reader, you see.
Yeah.
So the placement team will allocate you your placement. You usually get to have a bit of a say of ideas of where you like to work. You know, at the end of the day, placements are there for you to give it a go. You might have a placement that you might think, oh, I'm not going to like that, but actually that is your passion. And in community, I've worked 9 till 5. Flora, have you had any inpatient or hospital settings?
Yeah, most of mine have been inpatient. So it's 12 and a half hours, the shift I'm on now. But I do 12 hours, I do 7-7. But a previous placement was actually 7 till 9. But again, I only did 12 hours. But I know some people, even if you're in an inpatient and it is long days, if you prefer to do earlies and lates and that's how you'd like to make up your hours, everyone I've spoke to, the wards have let them do that. Pretty much. So again, like we said earlier, they are pretty flexible, but in order to get a feel of the job, you do have to follow the shifts in a sense. Like doing a few nights would definitely be useful just to see what, like they always say, it's 24-hour care, you know, seeing what it is like at night. I just want to add about choosing your placements. You can't choose, no, but like you said, they will take into account. And if you really desperately want to see a certain service, so my friend really wants to work in the prison when she's qualified, and that's a really sought after placement for mental health nurses. And she just asked, she emailed the placement team and she got a placement in a prison. So just ask, but it's not guaranteed, but you can ask. No. That's what I always say.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know until you ask, you know. Exactly. Worst answer you're going to get is no, sorry. But no, at least you've asked and you've been proactive.
So obviously it wasn't so long ago that you two, Jess and Hannah, were applying for DMU and having your interviews. And do you have any advice / top tips that you would give to all the people watching for the application process and prepping for your interviews?
I think, like you guys said, it's making sure you've done your research. I think for me personally, it was really looking into, is this something I'm going to be able to commit to? You know, some people have got children, we've all got responsibilities, and it's making sure that even if you know everything about the course, are you going to be able to do it? Because for yourself as well, you don't want to get to a point, if you can help it, where something comes up and you have to drop out or anything else like that. So things like, I mean, we were talking briefly before about things like the Learning Support Fund. Some people might not have heard about it, but for me, that means that I'm able to study and not have to work due to my partner supporting me, which I'm very lucky for, but it meant that I was able to do the course. It's obviously, the Learning Support Fund is a fund that you can apply for if you're studying a certain NHS course, and you get a bit extra if you're studying mental health or learning disability, etc. So for me, it was about doing all the research and definitely making sure that I could commit before obviously applying. And just staying true to yourself. Don't try and, I think sometimes there's a lot of pressure when you go to uni to, you know, say that you know things that you might not and things like that, which is completely understandable. But what I noticed a lot when I first started was there is no expectation. People are expecting you not to know things, whereas I think you come in, especially if you come from full-time work, it's, okay, I'm meant to know that, I'm meant to know this. But there's so many times where I put my hand up and go, what does that mean? And I think in your application, it's really important. Just stay true to yourself and just don't overthink it. Just, you know, be yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
I think for the interviews as well, I was absolutely petrified for mine, but it was really nice, and it ended up being more of like a formal chat sort of thing rather than an interview. And it wasn't half as scary as what I thought it was going to be. And I just looked at like the 6 C's for the NMs and like the NMC code and everything, just made sure that, and if they asked me any questions about the university, I sort of knew what I was going to say, sort of thing, like prepared beforehand. But yeah, it wasn't half as scary as what you initially think it is going to be like.
Definitely not.
I think it's important to add that they want to know about you. It's not what you know, these structured questions. It is going to be about what you are like, what you've experienced. Are you working at the minute? It's, you know, we've got people on our course that some people had never worked with people with learning disabilities and moved through, you know, in a different way. And then there was people like yourself, Emma. I was the same. I worked in a special needs school. It's really different. So I think it's talking about yourself as well. So be prepared to share experiences and what you like, etc.
Yeah, definitely showing your passion. You know, at the end of the day, you need to show your passion for your field, for nursing. You know, like you said, you don't need to. You don't necessarily actually need to have experience. You know, you don't have to have experience. I mean, like I said before, I actually did a BTEC in childcare many moons ago. So I didn't actually come from health and social BTEC. And I actually just emailed the admission team and went, I've got this as a BTEC. Would you accept it? So you never know. It doesn't matter if you worked in a bank. It doesn't matter. You've got transferable skills, which I think are really important.
I
interrupted, Laura.
No, it's fine.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, I agree. And I think that what they want is they want a different range of people, because that's what makes great nurses. Like you said, the transferable skills. And agreeing with what you said, it's just show your motivation and show your passion, because that's what they want to know. If you can tell them why you want to be a nurse and mean it, you'll do great. That's my top tip.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So thank you, Hannah and Jessica, for joining us. I hope the rest of your first year goes well.
Thank you.
And I know you guys are going to hang on and come back a bit later on to help us answer some questions. So you guys that are watching at home, if you have any questions for Hannah and Jessica about their life as a first year nurse, and I mean, they're the best people to ask. I've been a year, I'm in second year, so they are more fresher than I am. Drop
definitely
some comments
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, drop us some comments about life as a first year, and we will try and get to them at the end. So we are now coming up to our last section of our live stream, and I'm delighted to be joined by Renee, who is a DMU graduate from the Learning Disability Nursing course, and Sam, who is one of our lecturers on the LD programme, but he's also a registered learning disability nurse too. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hiya.
You all right?
So yeah, welcome to Renee and Sam. So I just want to ask you both, number one, how long ago did you graduate, and what have you been doing since you graduated?
Who's going first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay, so I got my NMC pin and my ratified results from uni in November. So the ratified results, that is your degree classification, and then you can apply for your NMC pin, so you're a legal nurse. Since then, I have secured a job. So I'm currently working. I actually secured that job on the back of one of my final placements. So in your final year, you have a long final placement. It's called your management placement. And I was at this particular place for, I think it was 12 weeks in total. And I absolutely loved it. And there was jobs available. So I kind of, hinted at the fact that I wanted a job there and worked really, really hard. Applied for the job, got an interview, and then secured my job, while I was on my final placement. I've only just had my official graduation in January. So I've still been part of uni like all this time, and being here is so nice because I do miss DMU. I loved everything about it. So a little bit about my role then. So I'm an LD nurse, but I actually currently work in a children's hospice, which some people wouldn't particularly link the two together. So although it is a hospice, the hospice also accepts children for respite. These children have complex additional needs. So I suppose that is where that links in. But it just shows you that there is so many kind of opportunities and diverse roles out there for an LD nurse, and I assume the same for a mental health nurse. Not everybody would think that being an LD nurse means that you could work in a hospice, but I absolutely love my job, and DMU were great at kind of I didn't particularly choose to go on that placement, which secured me the job. but I kind of, like you said earlier, I said, oh, that sounds really good. I'm interested in going to, you know, a place like that, like this hospice. And although you don't get to choose, you can always just kind of voice your opinion and voice that you might like to go there. And then if you're lucky to get there, then that's the bonus, isn't it? So that's a bit about me.
Fab. So hello everyone, nice to see you all. As Emma and Flora said, my name's Sam and I am one of the learning disability lecturers and taught Renee and Emma and Flora. I suspect I've taught you for something as well. But I'm not here today within that kind of academic capacity. So I, like Renee, graduated as a learning disability nurse. I graduated in 2012. Oh, it's 10 years this year. Oh, there you go. There's an anniversary, folks. I know, I'm old. I fell into nursing a little bit by accident, really. I did it because I didn't know what else to do, and I thought it might be a bit of a secure career. I originally wanted to be an adult nurse, but then went on adult placement. I wasn't that keen on it. I didn't like it. But fortunately for me, one of my non-field specific experiences was with people with learning disabilities in a learning disability day service. And I loved that. It was amazing. So I changed my field of practice focus to be a learning disability nurse. Similar to Renee, I found my first job when I qualified from a previous placement. It was somewhere I went in the first placement of my second year. And so my little top tip for those of you coming onto the course, those of you on the course now, is keep in touch with your mentors and your practice assessors, because if they, you get on really well and you like the team and they like you, as roles come up, they will let you know, because they will want to get you back because they already know that you're good at what you do. Yeah, and that's what happened to me, and is obviously what happened to Renee. So yeah, that was where I started in a residential nursing service for people with profound learning disabilities, but also multiple physical disabilities as well. So similar to Renee, not always the kind of client group you'd necessarily expect for a learning disability nurse. A lot of physical health needs, a lot of like adult nursing skills that were coming into play. But actually my skills as a learning disability nurse were really important and complemented those sort of practical skills as well. So as Renee said, we have a lot of transferable skills that are really sought after, just like mental health nurses do. That's why we find mental health and LD nurses in lots of different settings, and why lots of specialist roles are being created. But yeah, that's where I started. And then I progressed through the care home into management. And I was the deputy service manager for nursing within a year of qualifying. So that was a different experience altogether. Management was interesting. Looking after staff was decidedly more complicated than looking after people with learning disabilities. But certainly part of that kind of nursing experience, again, that I didn't think I'd actually get. But was something that was really, really useful and something that helped me grow as a practitioner. I stayed in that role for a while, was the service manager for a short time, and then went to work in the community for the NHS as a learning disability primary care liaison nurse. So my role then was to support primary care practitioners like practice nurses, GPs, opticians, dentists. I would support them in their work with people with learning disabilities. So not quite as hands-on, it was more consultative. But it was really good. It was a great one for networking with other practitioners, for raising awareness about people with learning disabilities and their needs. I felt like I really made a difference in that role on a kind of wider scale, which again, we don't always think we can do as individual practitioners. But in that role, I got to support the development of policy within the health service within Nottingham, where I was based, and did work with people with learning disabilities about their health needs and raising awareness of like symptoms of cancer and real tangible things that you could see make a difference to people's lives. It was within that role I kind of got into teaching a little bit and did a bit of education. I started doing my master's as well within that role. That was in psychology and learning disability. So that's the other thing I guess that I would recommend to people is there is also opportunity for academic career advancement as well. So if you're interested in the academic side, Flora, I was listening to what you were saying before about how much you love your assignments. But some of that, I think when you do your masters or something like that, like you pick the focus of it, and you end up doing usually like research within that, and you get to pick what it is that you're looking into. And I think that makes a huge difference as to how much you enjoy it. So it's certainly something I'd recommend people consider. So I was lucky enough to be able to do that, and then got a role as a visiting lecturer at DMU, and did a few kind of individual little one-off sessions with some first-year students. With I think your cohort, Renee, were you the first people I ever taught? You may well have been.
So. Yeah, you were quite nervous. You weren't this kind of, well-spoken and.
Oh, I know, you cannot shut me up now.
Yeah. I think
quite a lot of our lectures run late, don't they, Sam?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, the lecturers are so fun. They're just
we like to have a discussion and a debate. So
I get overexcited too easily, but that's because I'm working with people that have a passion for the subject. And again, I heard you talking earlier about how important that is within interviews and personal statements. And you're absolutely right. When we interview people, that's what we look for. We obviously like a bit of experience, and if you've got previous healthcare experience, that's great. You can use that to your advantage. But if you don't, it doesn't matter. I didn't have any healthcare experience when I applied for nursing. As Flora said, it's about getting to know you as an individual, and the kind of bits of knowledge you don't have, we can teach you. That's what we're there for. It's about you as a person and how you can apply yourself to that field, to the people you're going to be working with. So yeah, they're the kind of the biggest things that would come through within an interview. I better stop waffling on now, because Renee, I've got something else to say.
Thank you for that, Sam and Renee. So I'm in my final year of the nursing course. I've previously mentioned I'm on my second to last placement. So all I've got left is one theory block and one placement. And I'm halfway through this placement already, and it's just going too quickly. It's scary. What advice would you both give me about preparing to work as a registered nurse, as it is coming up very quickly for me?
Yeah, get some good, comfy shoes.
Yes.
Like what you are already doing, I think, just make the most of every opportunity. So, just see what people are doing and ask to, go and work with that person and that person. I don't know whether they still do this now, or you might have opportunity in a final placement to go on insight days. So that's how I ended up knowing about my current job role. I liked the idea of this hospice. So I said to uni, if I can't have a placement there, could I just visit for one day or even half a day? So definitely, if you like the idea of somewhere and university might not be able to facilitate a placement as such, just see if you can go and visit for a little bit. And just really think about, using this time wisely to see what is out there, because there is so much in terms of LD nursing. So that would be my advice.
I'd build on what you were saying before, Flora. Like, you had that moment, didn't you, where you were like had that reflection about how you've progressed from year 1 to sort of year 3 where you are now. And I'd keep focusing on that. Like, have confidence in what you've been doing, and you wouldn't have got this far if you weren't, good at what you did. Keep building on that, keep using those skills, and as Renee says, make the most of the opportunities that are still going to present themselves to you. It's third year's kind of, that weird sort of time where we support you to try and become independent practitioners, but at the same time you're still a student, so there are still elements of supervision. So as Renee says, make the most of that and keep asking the questions while there are people there to answer them.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Thank you guys for joining us. It's nice to hear about your journey when you've graduated, because obviously quite a few people might just think nursing is on the wards, and it's so not just on the wards. Like you said, we're hidden everywhere. We are there. So that's really, inspired me to think ahead, especially to my next couple of placements, and when I enter third year, looking at where I need to go for my career. So if anyone has any questions to ask Renee and Sam about their journey to nursing, get them in the chat now, because we're getting to the end of this live stream. So I think it's time for a bit of a Q&A. So let's have everybody back. Here they come. Hi, guys.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Are you ready for some questions?
Yes.
Oh. Does it matter if you miss a lecture? Ooh.
Who wants to take this? Sam, do you want to take this as a lecturer?
I feel like I should give my university answer and my real answer separately. My university answer is yes, of course it does. Everything we teach you is important. Come to everything. In real life, we have certain things that you have to do to make sure that you're safe to go out onto placement. So you have mandatory skills in years 1, 2, and 3 that you need to have to keep you safe and to keep those that you're supporting safe. The benefit of DMU and what kind of makes us stand out is that we are pretty good at our online provision. So there are lots of pre or post session materials that you can use to catch up if you missed anything. And we also have DMU replay. So we record our live lectures as we deliver them within a classroom. So if students, for example, this is really handy at the minute for students that are having to isolate for COVID and things like that. If students aren't physically able to make it onto campus, then lecturers will record live lessons that we can then upload a copy onto our virtual learning portal, and students can catch up with it from there. So even if you physically miss a lecture, you can still catch up with most of them online.
Definitely. I guess if you can't, you're able to get to your lecture, get to it, because at the end of the day, you're cheating yourself. If like Sam said, life does get in the way, and there might be times you miss a lecture. So get onto DMU replay. It's really good. I've used it and I find it beneficial.
Me too. Even if you were at the lecture and refresh yourself for an assignment, I've used it for that as well.
It's really the amount of times I've had one on replay.
Yeah.
Ooh, what support is available to help with things like assignments, writing and referencing? They've got, is it DMU Gateway?
Yeah.
I could be wrong. So they have a support centre. Like I said earlier, so I am dyslexic, and I declared that when I applied for DMU, declare anything, disability, learning difficulty, they're there to help you. And if you don't ask for the help, you struggle. I know my first year I was a bit like, I'm not asking for help, I'm fine, and had an assignment back and it's like, oh, I need the help. So ask for the help. There's a lot of stuff on the DMU library. Like we have someone who is a librarian for nursing, and they can point you in the right direction for journals, for books. I know in my first year, I don't know, Jessica and Hannah, if you've had the same, we had a bit of a transition to uni writing where we looked at referencing.
We've just submitted our assignment on it.
Woo!
I was about to say the library is your best friend.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
And I did a uni course before this. So for me, the referencing was totally different. So the library just helped me so much in learning how the style of writing was expected at DMU compared, and the referencing, and you can just drop in. So I would say definitely the library online and in person is.
I would agree with that. You can, like you said, you can drop in, but they're so helpful. There's so many things out there. There's something called class. There's a maths help as well, because I know everyone worries about the maths exam. And also you can just go online and book a drop-in appointment or book a one-to-one session. And they're there to help you. Like I know I've used them. They're amazing and they're so helpful. Like Emma said, there's a subject librarian who is also very helpful. Anything you need. If you can't get on a journal article on the library website, she can email different people and get you certain journal articles. She's like a little article wizard. She's amazing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Sorry, with the referencing as well, there's a website called Cite Them Right that we've been told to use, and that's really helpful as well.
Definitely, yeah. What to expect during a mental health interview,
please? Well, mine was a long time ago now, really, but it's, I think, similar to what everyone's covered about interviews now. But like I already said earlier, if you can really kind of explain why you specifically want to do mental health nursing, I think is a good thing to do. Mine was on Skype, and this was actually pre-COVID anyway. So I was sat in my living room, like very, very nervous before. I had all these sheets of paper with notes in front of me, and I didn't even use any of it. Like, I can't remember, one of the first years said, Hannah or Jessica, it was like a conversation. It was very It was very flowy, and they just wanted to know why you wanted to do it, what you knew about nursing, and just, you know, specifically if you're asking about mental health, I just really know what your motivation for wanting to do that specific. Same with LD, if that's what you want to do. Why do you want to do that as opposed to anything else? And any experience that you think you can relate to it. It doesn't have to be in healthcare. Like Emma said, if you worked in a bank, you can find something there that relates to that. So use that. That's what I'd say.
Going on your point, Flora, about it was a Skype. Mine was Skype. Mine was during COVID. Sam interviewed me, and I was so nervous. On my wall in front of me, I literally had paper of all these things. I did a lot. I had like 10 sheets of paper, and Sam was like, "It's fine, you know, we're just going to have a chat." And I was like, oh, "Okay." We've got 10 pieces of paper all across my wall.
Yeah,
I can say that now. He's interviewed me. How many hours do you complete? Oh, fully complete for a placement? I think it depends how long your placement is. You get a rough guide, a rough outline of how many hours you could complete on that placement. Overall, on the 3 years, you've got to complete 2,300, and that's the NMC, so the Nursing and Midwifery Council requirement. It's not a uni requirement; it's them. So you might have a 6-week block placement, or like Flora says, she's on a 12. So it does depend on your where you're on placement. Usually for a week, you can complete 35 hours on shift, and then you have some reflective hours, but we don't need to go into that just yet. So it's roughly about 40 hours a week, really. I don't know how long's your placement.
As 4 weeks, this first one is, but we have like a placement preparation week beforehand. So we've got a workbook that we've got to complete, which can equate to 40 hours if the placement thinks that it's like worthy of, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, we have our PADS, which is our practice document, which documents all what we do on placement, is now online, and that has a very handy little circle with all your hours in total on the course, and then it has a little, every placement that you're on, it will have, so my current one is 480 hours, and it says like 220 out of 480. So the new pad online is a really great way to keep track of the hours as well.
And I like watching my little circle fill up, like really slowly.
But just going to say, from my point of view, it is handy as well. Keeping an eye on all of your hours, it is useful. Emma, you're absolutely right about the 2,300 hours. We build in a tiny buffer to that, so we give you enough placement hours to do 2,350. So it's like buffer just to cover any like sickness and things like that you might have.
Missing a placement.
Yeah, all that. Emma missed a placement, her first placement of year 1, because of COVID restrictions and those kind of things, and she tells me about it all the time. But yeah, so 2,300 hours, as Emma said, is the norm. We have blocks of placement, as you guys have quite rightly said. You tend to have less placement time in year 1 and more in year 3. That's because obviously in year 1 we've got more things we need to teach you to keep you safe and get you out there. And then year 3 is like Flora's experiencing now. You're on placement for quite a long time, and we don't see you quite as often because you're putting all of those skills into practice. So yeah, 50-50 across the 3 years. And as Emma quite rightly says, 2,300 is your total.
Just to add, because I obviously I've just said I missed my first placement. Don't panic. The uni the uni and your placement will support you to claw back those hours, and there's plenty of opportunity, where you can make up your hours. So it's not as daunting as it sounds. The hours sound a lot, but once you look at it and you start chipping away, it gets shorter, that little circle.
While studying mental health nursing, do you have to do other parts of nursing as well? That is a great question, because I think everyone asks me that. Even my friends and family are like, well, what do you actually do as a mental health nurse? So I get asked that as an LD nurse. The thing with this is, in first year, I believe, I'm sure Sam will correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of our content is very similar to the adult nurses as well. The skills are slightly different, but now on the new, I can't remember what they call it, the new proficiencies or something, we're doing a lot more physical health skills. Like I know this year we've done catheterization, venipuncture, you listen to your chest, all that kind of stuff, which I don't think mental health really covered before, because I think there's a real push to try and give you a range of skills, which is definitely useful, because when you're in practice and you've got someone who's on a mental health ward, they also have physical health conditions. You know, you've got people with diabetes, asthma, everything that physical health nurses would come across. And then also they can just become acutely unwell physically while they're on the ward. And it definitely helps having a basic knowledge of what to do, even though in most instances, I don't know if it's the same in LD, we would just probably call an ambulance in most instances, because we don't really have a physical health team on board. But you do cover a lot of the skills, I'd say, more generally, but it is definitely part of the course. I don't know if Sam would like to jump in.
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
you're
Same.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a focus on those kind of basic clinical skills for all fields of practice, like you said, that kind of fundamental knowledge that's useful for anyone, no matter who we work with. Within the first year now, within the new curriculum, so slightly different to what yourself and Emma experienced, and you, Renee, that Hannah and Jess are getting, is that we have first year modules now that have a lot of mix of generic and field specific stuff. So within the module that Jess and Hannah are doing now, for example, they have lectures all together with every field of practice, and then each field goes off and has individual sessions to explore what that concept might mean in relation to that field. So we had a session together, didn't we, recently on what do we have? I forgot what it was. It was the one where we did all of our beautiful, like, multi-sensory things and colouring in. Complementary therapy, that was it. Come back to me. You guys had a lecture with all fields of practice together about complementary therapy in general. Then we all met as an LD specific group and explored its application to people with learning disabilities in our practice. So the process kind of follows. But yeah, a good mix for all fields, because as you say, there is that fundamental knowledge that we all need, no matter who it is that we're working with.
Yeah, definitely. What happens if you don't pass a certain module? Do you get a chance to retake the module to earn credits? Yes, you do get so many credits a year. I think it's 90. So if you do, unfortunately, fail a module, you are able to retake it and have the support. You know, use the support around as well. So, you know, there's no shame in failing a module. These things happen. So, yeah, you will be able to retake it.
I think as well, it's remembering that the lecturers want you to pass. They're not your enemy. They're not trying to test you. They are there to support. So even if you do, it isn't the end of the world. When we all had our assignment, there was people that maybe didn't pass, but the lecturers straight away were sending out additional guidance. They were putting everything in place for those people to then pass. So you only get certain credits, but the support is there to then reach that goal.
Yeah, I agree. And also whichever lecturer marked your work always says email me about support, and they specifically marked your work so they can give you even more in-depth pointers to. I know when I failed one, that was the most useful thing, was speaking to the person who marked it, and then I was like, oh, I've done that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, definitely. Are all your placements within Leicester? Yes and no. I know from the LD field of practice, we have had some placements in Nottingham. I want to say Derby as well. Sam might correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, most people do have placements in Leicester. Some people might want to travel further afield. So really, the world is your oyster. I don't know about you, Flora, if you've had any experience of ones not in Leicester.
Yeah, I have. So I don't have a car at the moment. So my furthest away was Loughborough, and I just used to get the bus to Loughborough. But I know a few of my friends have had placements in Oakham. So I know they do Leicestershire, and some can be in Rutland, I think, as well. But I don't know, Sam will probably correct me, but I think they won't send you further than like an hour, I think, because I know some of my friends have had like Market Harborough, Melton Mowbray, places like that. But like you said, I think most of them in mental health do tend to be in Leicester, but there are some services which are in other places. So yeah.
Do you have any placements in Northampton? Sam,
I don't know.
Answer that.
We do have at least one LD one that I know within Northampton. I don't know for mental health, I'm afraid. I can't answer that for mental health. Renee, where have you been for your placements? You've gone further afield than Leicester.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think university try and keep you obviously local to Leicester or local to, you know, where you live, so you don't have to travel too far. But I actually had an interest in a placement in Derby, so I voiced that to DMU, and they were able to facilitate that. So I did end up commuting to Derby, which is about over an hour from my house. But actually, I got a lot out of that placement. I loved it. So it is worth travelling that little bit further. And yeah, you can branch out away from Leicester, or they, like I say, they do try and keep you as local as possible to reduce your journey times.
And I'll just jump on and say that I think it's, if your journey to placement is further than your journey to uni, you can claim back the petrol, or I claimed back all my bus tickets. So they will cover your expenses for your travel.
Yeah, that's through the Learning Support Fund as well. So
Yeah.
claim back if you can.
Yes.
Right. So I think that's all we've got time for questions. So I hope you guys have found that live stream useful and have got a lot out of it. I know you probably still have quite a lot of questions, but if you haven't done so already, book onto the open day on the 5th of March and come and see us. You might be able to talk to some students. You might see a familiar face. I might be there. You never know. So, you know, come and have a chat with us. If you've got any more questions, come and see the facilities. And, you know, just come and see how the campus is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Sorry,
just
Flora.
Thank you to all. I was going to say thank you to all of our speakers for jumping on tonight and chatting with me and you, and just sharing your experiences. Thanks to everyone at home watching. We hope to see you at DMU in the future. We hope you've got something out of this live stream, and we wish you all the best of luck with your applications, your interviews, and plans moving to uni.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.